What's going on, family? It is your boy Marcus.
It's Alexander.
And Dr. Tamara.
And we are the Fampreneurs.
Thank you so much.
As you already know, welcome to the podcast. So when you think of a marriage or when you think of a family, most people now is making it normalized as one couple, like you're a single parent. But the people we have here, this is coexistence, right? So we want to make sure we bring somebody that brings a wholeness to the podcast. So we have an amazing guest called Rod and Jen. How are you?
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We are fantastic.
I love it. So I want to go ahead and I want the audience to kind of understand and get to know you all. Like, what do you all do? Let them know what you do. Who do you serve? How do you serve people?
Look, first of all, guys, thanks so much. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for having us because, we're fans of you guys as well. We love family, organized activities, things, especially business.
Yes.
We love to see families in business together. We've got 4 adult kids ourselves. Some of them do help us with some components of business, but are not fully in business with us today. We're working on that.
Mm-hmm. I think we're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it. But we've been at this. We own a number of businesses. We're serial entrepreneurs. I was born that way. So I always tell people that's my story and I stick with it because didn't really like school a whole lot. Didn't really want to do a whole lot of other things, but I loved business. I always wanted to be in some sort of business. Grandmother used to pick at me as a kid and say I was peculiar because I would get my lunchbox and I'd put papers in it and I'd make that my briefcase and I would haul that around everywhere. So it's just in me. So from that point to this point and the time that we've got together, which was 25 years ago, we combined forces, started to do business together. My background was construction and real estate. Hers was kind of corporate America, but also real estate. And we brought it together as a family and just started working that thing. And we've done, so many multi-million dollars of real estate over the years, developed new construction, commercial, residential, mixed use, property management, you name it. I'm sure I'm missing something. I'll let you fill in and add whatever I'm missing, which you usually do.
No, I think you're doing just fine. You're hitting it all. I mean, Rod and I grew up a little bit different from one another. He didn't like school. I loved school, right? I love education. I love taking classes. I will probably always do that until the day I leave this earth. So I went on and got a master's degree in business, was, all on the education track, all on the corporate track. Loved that. Things shifted a little bit when we got together and he started introducing me to this entrepreneurial thing. I was tapping into it just a little bit. I was a licensed real estate agent, working corporate America at the same time. Met Rod and he's all about business. I was like, you were born with a briefcase in your hand, no question about it. So he sort of, helped me, navigate or transition from corporate America into being an entrepreneur. And I absolutely love it, would never, ever go back. But where we actually connected was in the real estate space. And it just exploded from there. And then we raised a family together and just doing every aspect of real estate that you can possibly imagine. And we love the business for all the obvious reasons that everybody talks about. One of them being cash flow. But the generational wealth piece is the one that we're most excited about. And the one that we feel like every family on the planet needs to know about, especially in our community. So we're just so happy to be here and be introduced to another family that is all about business and
feel
success.
The same way. Yeah.
We can talk all day long about family. I mean, that's so super duper important because for us, when it comes to family, for me, meaning, when our dad and I were in business together, he's passed on right now. We lost him to COVID. It's just been kind of crazy because we've always been in business. Okay. We started with a business and we had a photography business. We were legal drug runners. So we had a pharmaceutical business. And that's actually where we made our first million in the pharmaceutical side. Just the freedom that you're having your own business will allow you to have. It depends on what type of business it is. Some businesses doesn't allow you to be free, but some businesses do. So it depends on what it is. But the most rewarding is being able to be in business with your family. That's what's rewarding for me. Okay. So you said you're trying to get your kids involved. So what's their personalities like? What are you guys' personalities like? Because of course, when your family business, what people don't know is certain people do certain roles. You have to find what's your talent, what is your strong suit. So who does what in your business?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, it is. Well, let's talk about the kids. Well, first of all, I want to tell you guys, look, so sorry for your loss with your husband and your father, but I will say this, and I already feel it. See, but there's a legacy passed on. And the fact that you guys could be here and be doing this and representing and doing what you're doing, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he's so proud. So it's like, that's the whole thing that drives us. And when you ask about personalities, I'm the personality in this group that's to come up the way that I came up, which was from certainly a very disadvantaged childhood, everything from family violence to incarceration, you name it. Just it was a bad scenario, but it put something in me that I so appreciate and I'm so passionate about, which is building a legacy. Mm-hmm. And so when you say, what's the roles? I'm the legacy builder. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. We're breaking any family curse. We're not going to be a family of poverty. Like you with making your first million, we made our first million. I made that in construction. I made that building and developing and doing what we do and grinding it out, and that was early on before I was able to connect. And we connect as a couple to bring some balance. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I'm driven 24/7, 365. So balance came here for me. Balance came with, hey, no, that's not how we do that. We need some structure. You need to, you can't just work all day long, all night and all weekend. So we brought those two together, mm-hmm. and she balanced and gave me so much administrative support, so much structure, the proper way to do it. And as she said, being an educated woman, I am an educated man, did get a degree, did go to college, got a business degree. Don't even know how that happened. I just went and attended and I tolerated it, but I got through. They were probably glad to see me go, I'm sure. But I managed to get a degree out of it. And then I said, I'm never going back. I'm just going to keep doing business. But
Rod is 100% a leader. And I have more of the gift of teaching and encouragement. And I'm a very detail-oriented person. So he's right. We brought those two things together. But we actually did ministry together as well, too. So we learned our spiritual gifts. And we sort of learned each other's strengths and took advantage of those in business. So it's worked really well together.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I just got ordained, I think about a month and a half ago. So yeah, so this is actually a ministry for me personally, as I remarried, because Marcus is now, and I remarried, so my husband now. So it's just my husband. You would have thought he was a minister from day one, right, Marcus and Alex? So I mean, they call him Mr. Preacher Man. But at the end of the day, you're right. Everybody has their role, and although I'm the one that's driven, my current husband, he's the one that is all about the family. How can we help? I said, well, until we help ourselves, we can't go on. We can't. You got to help yourself first, so, but yeah, it's been amazing. Alex is our balancer. He's just like our calm. He's our zen. He's Mr. Zen. Me and Marcus, we're amped up like 24/7, but it's just been a great journey. And it's great to see, like you, I mean, you're Generation X too, correct?
We actually made it into the baby boomers. We're the cutoff.
Oh, you're the cutoff of the baby boomers.
We are. We're in there.
But I'm 68, so we're not that far from each other. If you said
we're not.
Okay, because their dad was 64. But when we went to school, it was all about getting our education, going as far as we can, even if it meant doctorate, because I got my doctorate as well. So it's like, but it's different now. It's it's the skill set that's winning versus the folks that have gone to school.
That's right.
Not trying to be funny when I say that, I paid all this money to go to school, mm-hmm. and, for architecture and interior design. And here it is paying all this money. You laughing, Jen, we know all this money, get over $300,000 in student loans, and they got it down to 180. And now they trying, it's insane.
Yeah.
Now, these young folks now they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. Okay.
You're so right. You're so right. I wanted to touch on that a little bit too. So thanks for bringing that up. I love education, but if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't do it the same way. I think a lot of it was designed, if we go all the way back to the time of Rockefeller when he first designed the first school board or whatever it was that he did, the Board of Education, and what it was really designed to do was not designed for us to be free and to be entrepreneurs. It was designed for us to be employees.
Right.
And so many people are trapped in that bubble of I've got to get a good job and then work on this job for 40 years and then retire.
Right.
And this generation behind us, they're not in that trap.
No.
And it's beautiful to see them still succeed without having to fall under that, that umbrella.
And they're becoming smarter. They're becoming smarter about finances, about credit. That was things in our community that they really didn't talk about. They were definitely talking about, hey, don't get any credit because you don't want to be in debt. Not understanding that we could flip it to our advantage as opposed to it being a negative. It could be a positive. You can turn it into multiple streams of income if you're using it the right way. And it's interesting you say that because our big thing is become a Black Rockefeller. That is our big.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are days that you're going to have some bad days. How do you deal with those bad days? And folks, some people don't even know what Rockefeller is. Then it's the level of education. Like we're not explaining our history. They're trying to erase it. Look at what's happening. I'm not trying to get political, but look what happened in Florida. They're trying to not let certain things be told, which is the truth of history of how this country was made. So when it comes to being in business, there is a level of tenacity that you have to have because every day is not going to be roses. Every day is not going to be, I made all this money. There are days that you're going to have some bad days. How do you deal with those bad days?
Well, that's a good question, but you have to keep in front of you what your goal is and what your mission is and what your vision is.
Right.
You can keep that vision in front of you. It's what drives you every day. Life is that way. I don't care if you have a W-2 9-to-5 job, you're going to run into some stuff.
Stuff's coming.
You're going to run into a storm,
happen.
It's going to happen. And so just keeping the why in front of you and understand why you're doing what you're doing, keeps us going. And we're driven too. We're both very, very driven people. We work all the time. We work hard. We work toward what God has called us to do. And we know it's for a reason, for changing lives in this earth, leaving a legacy, and then enjoying life while we're here. Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. We enjoy living that abundant life, but we also know that we have the responsibility to leave a legacy. What does the Bible say? A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
But
we're all about doing that.
Something interesting you just brought up, though, and it makes me think about it because we had a training today, a 5-day training we do, and we stopped in the middle of the training. I was just prompted to kind of do this, and I gave a little background because a lot of times we don't always tell people and give all the background. But see, we've been in this industry for we've been in business, and I'm no exaggeration when I tell you I've been doing business since I was 14, and we've been in business for a long time. And in 2008, it was the first time that literally after achieving the American dream, becoming financially solid, being multimillionaires, and just really enjoying, living that dream, and to have 2008 happen and literally take us almost back down to zero. And now so many people, they've never experienced anything like that.
Right.
The first thing I drew on was, look, I've been broke before. I've been poor and hungry. You know what I'm saying? So now I live in a mansion and I'm living like I want to. Do I want to go all the way back down? No. But I was down before and I went up. And the thing was having a solid mate, having someone that didn't bolt on me, which I can't even express the level of what that means about a family and having a family and having kids, that for me to have to say to my kids, hey, we got to move. You guys are no longer going to have your own room. You're no longer going to have a car because I'm selling them. You're no longer going to live in a mansion. I'm going to put you in this little shack over here and y'all going to have to bunk up. That right there was one of the most difficult things that we faced, that I faced personally as the leader of the family, then to have to trail and lead us back out of it. But you know what?
And you did a great job.
But God is good. Because one thing we didn't lose was our faith. It wasn't because we did something dreadfully wrong and gambled our money. We were in a business and trying to scale business. So every dollar we got, we had hundreds of thousands of dollars wrapped into our businesses. So to know that the banking industry was going to collapse, we didn't know. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know, even though we knew there were rumors, we didn't realize how it would impact all of our business activities. Right. Where we literally had people just banks calling saying, hey, you guys owe us $750,000. We need that paid off next week. We're like, what?
We laugh now, right?
we look at the phone, you're joking, right?
But they'll talk trash to you.
So the same people that loved us, that, oh, you guys need money? Oh, sure, we'll give you $1 million line. We'll do this. You guys can, yeah. And then to have that happen and not even have the courtesy of the VP and the presidents and folks we talked to, they had their secretaries call. Mm-hmm. They had other people from the bank call and to tell us that. And we're sitting there looking like,
But you know what? I want to, if you guys would allow me, I want to add on to what Rod is sharing. So, and this is something you said earlier about the generational differences between our generation and the generation behind us and how they approach life differently. But here's the thing. I think the two generations need to come together because we both need something from one another. They can add to us and cause us to think differently about a lot of things. And they've impacted our lives in a great way. And at the same time, we have a lot that we can lend to them in terms of wisdom and things that are coming about. Because I'm telling you right now, if you live long enough, you're going to bump into some challenges. And we can help them understand, how do I approach this thing that's coming about and not run from it, but run through it? Because look, those of us that are believers, the spiritual substance is within us. We can be knocked down and guess what? We're coming right back. Yeah. Because it's within us and we're created to win. And we know that. So although we went through this very horrific, terrible time, when all the dust settled and we came out with our faces all dirty and we wiped our face off and wiped off, rolled our sleeves up, we went right back at it. Yeah. you know?
Well, that's all we knew to do.
Mm-hmm. It's, not to cut you off. It is interesting that you both say that because to them, COVID, actually, I don't even think they felt it during COVID because our business soared after COVID. Now family wise, personally, it was difficult, with their dad. And then the following year, I almost died of COVID, so it was like literally exactly a year and a month later, it was me. So it's like and I'll let them tell it. It was like a reality check because it's like, okay, Marcus said, I need to know where everything is. Thank goodness we have some things in order because Marcus, he's our COO, so he's operations. So he handled all that part. Okay, I need to make sure the bills are paid. This is done. This is done. This is done. Where's this? Where's the insurance? Alex is, again, he's in a sense, the caregiver. He was the one that was, Mom, what do you need? He would bring have them give me my watermelon while I was in the hospital. He was cutting up fruit so I can have liquid. My husband, my current husband, he was a little out of it. He was like, oh my God, my wife, what am I going to do? Yeah. He was like, what is going on? I can't take it. So the boys stepped up, but my husband was freaking out, literally. He was like, because he's like, that's the glue. I can't be without my wife. And so it was quite interesting. But Marcus and Alex, their dad, the way we brought them up was, look, because we've always been in business for ourselves. So it was always a sense of that we got to make a way out of no way. That's one. Two, we don't have a choice. It's either we do it or we do it. Like you're saying, right? It's like, hey, it's not like somebody has a job. Remember when the plan scamdemic came, who did they help? Folks in business.
That's right.
Not the people that were employed. Right. It was folks in business. So the people employed was the one freaking out, whereas the folks that were doing business, well, if you did it right, it went to the next level.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It went to the next level. But I want to turn it over to Alex because, like I said, Alex is the one that brought this beautiful couple here to us. Alex, what do you have?
So I really want to pivot into you all's actual business and how you all have been able to structure it now, right? I know that they always say everyone should own a little bit of real estate, but can you all go into like more of the benefits of real estate, how somebody can start off if they currently don't have any, and kind of like the tips and tricks that you can give them along the process so it's easier for them?
Sure. You want to take that?
Go ahead.
Because we honestly believe that everybody should own real estate. First of all, it's scriptural. I'm just going to go right to the word. There's a scripture in Acts, I think it's 4:34, where the Bible says there were no poor among them because those that owned houses and land sold them so that they could give the money to the apostles that took care of the poor. I mean, it has so many benefits. God's not making any more land. We need to acquire as much as we can.
Let me add something to that right there. But you know what often is not seen? That didn't say sell everything you have.
Right.
It said sell. So that means they had more than one. They had multiple. So we look at stuff sometimes and it's like all or nothing. He didn't say sell all your land.
That's right.
He said they sold houses and land, which means that was their additional land.
Exactly.
So we got to look at it for what it is. I had to,
because
we always try to expand what you read when you read the scripture.
So true. So true. So, you know, some of the most obvious benefits, Alex, are you get monthly cash flow. Okay. You can use it as a supplement to what you're already doing. If you already own businesses or if you're an employee, you get monthly cash flow from your real estate. That in itself is enough sometime to help people get over the hump, to help you pay off a bill or whatever, to help you meet your ends to meet. You get that passive income every month. And then, of course, there's retirement. Those who are about to retire soon, or maybe not even soon, but planning toward retirement. You have money in your 401k plan, some of them, if you have a W-2 job, or maybe if you don't, you've got money stashed away for retirement. But is it going to be enough?
Right.
The 401k plan is not promised to last you until the end of your lifetime, right? Especially it's mutual funds. You know, it's full of mutual funds and it's based on what the stock market is doing. If the stock market crashes, your 401k plan could tank. Hopefully that does not happen, but it could. And so real estate will provide that stability throughout retirement. And then you can pass it down to the next generation and continue to build this wealth. But then there's the tax advantages that most people don't talk about or don't really understand fully. And one of the bigger tax advantages is depreciation. You've often heard people say they wrote off hundreds of millions of dollars or thousands of dollars in taxes or they reduced their income so they didn't have to pay as much. And we're thinking, well, how could they do that? They're multi-bazillionaires. Well, if they own a portfolio of real estate and they own enough of it, that depreciation, which is not a real loss, the government allows you to depreciate an asset that, in fact, is really appreciating in value. But they allow you to depreciate it and write that off on your taxes when it's not really a real loss. That's the magical part of real estate that most people don't wrap their minds around or don't fully understand. And that then allows you to keep more of the money you make.
And I don't mean to cut you off. I do apologize. But for people who aren't too familiar with what depreciation actually is, can you just kind of give a quick, intro to what that is and how that essentially benefits in the taxes as far as writing it off?
So if you have a house or property that you own as an investor, the government says, okay, this thing is going to depreciate in value over time. Right. They're saying, the IRS is saying it's going to depreciate in value because the longer you have it, it's going to start to deteriorate or depreciate. In fact, though, you're fixing it up over the years and you're improving the value of it, but they allow you to consider it to be an asset that's depreciating. So, for example, if you bought a house for $100,000, you have to pull out the land value. So if the land is worth $20,000, you can't depreciate land. It's not going to depreciate. It's God's land. It doesn't go down in value. So you have to pull out that $20,000 for the land. But the house that sits on the land, that's another $80,000. They'll allow you to depreciate the value of that property over 27 and a half years, I believe it is. So you take the value, the $80,000, you divide it by those 27 and a half years. And each year you get to deduct that from your income that you made that year. And if you own a lot of properties, multiple millions of dollars of properties, that depreciation number can be huge.
Right.
And so if you made this much money, you take off the depreciation and all the other expenses that came with you maintaining this property, and it can make you look like you didn't make very much money at all.
Which is why you see, and Doctor, you mentioned this about the Rockefellers and you guys mentioning and the education behind that. If you dig deeply into who they were and what he did and the long-term sustainability of their wealth, 40% of his wealth at the end of his life was held in real estate. And we know he was in the oil business. He was an oil magnate. He revolutionized and changed that industry. But there was a lot of things that he understood and knew about wealth preservation. If you look at the letters he wrote to his children, there's a book you can get, and it actually shows all the letters he wrote to his son and his daughter over a series of years, where he would just introduce them each year to new information and new things as they grew up. And not letting them ever to believe they were so wealthy that he couldn't train them and teach them to sustain what he was able to do. But a lot of that was real estate. Rockefeller Center up in New York, which was only sold within the last 10 years, I believe, his family still owned one of the most expensive pieces of real estate in the world. Okay, where they do the Christmas tree lighting and ice skating rink and all that every year. They knew the value and know the value of real estate. All wealthy people, from Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all the rest of them, in their portfolio, there is significant real estate. Okay, and they may not be out talking about it, but they know the value of it, just like Jim was just explaining. They know the tax value of it. They know what it gets to do the offset. And what's happened for many of us in our community, just to be very frank about it, these are things we were never taught. She's got a master's degree in business. I've got a business degree. And not to mention, I've been in business, didn't get any of this information.
I want you to have it.
Okay?
Exactly.
That's what you said. It's interesting because, yes, when we were growing up, we saw Black family business owners. That's all we saw growing up. Now it's all individualized. Me. I, instead of being we, right? And leaving it for your children. It's a crab in a barrel mentality who gets to the top, right? And when you said something about Rockefeller, which I thought was interesting about the land, I only look at it, I was looking at it from the insurance side. But correct, it was all about the land. He was land, oil, insurance. That's what he was about. But we actually look at from the insurance part from being your own bank. Now you're talking about from the real estate side. And when you sit up and think about, geez, where they light the Christmas tree in New York, wow, he owns that. It's like, okay, what is it that we own? We have people in our community that own 36 acres of land, 46 acres of land, 100 acres of land. I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Build some tiny homes on there. You can still own the land, but you can be the landlord, rent that stuff out, but build it. And like, I don't even know what to say. I'm just like, you're just letting it sit.
You're correct. You're correct. And, now, and see how technology and time and everything changes. We have someone in our community locally where we are owned over 100-acre tract of land. And guess who they just leased it to? They leased it to the solar energy folks, and they're going to put a solar farm there. Didn't sell the land, leased it. They cleared the land for him. See what I'm saying? Come on. So now he's got a 99-year lease. The lease alone, he owns the land still. They're paying him, a tremendous amount of money, but they're clearing it. They're maintaining it. They're cutting the grass. They're creating roadways in there, and they're fully responsible for the taxes and everything else. And he gets a lease for 99 years, and he will still own the land. When that lease runs out, his family will still own the land. And guess what they can do? Release it. They can release it or tell them get off or whatever the case may be, and they can start all over again. There's cell towers.
That right there is amazing.
So I never thought about leasing land.
That's why we love it. That's why for us, the more and more we understood it, the more and more we see how it's connected. And you're right. Even the insurance piece of this. And all of the be your own bank. Most people don't know, and we were introduced to this years ago, you can use your property as a bank. You can leverage your property. You don't have to sell it, but you can utilize it.
And the HELOC, that's the HELOC, right?
Exactly. So there's all these ways that you can leverage and use without selling.
Don't sell.
Right. Okay. So can we kind of go more into some of those ways to leverage real estate? We just obviously said the leasing aspect, and but I'm personally not familiar with the HELOC. So could you kind of go into that and some of the few other ways you can utilize your land and your property without actually having to sell it, to where you can still generate wealth?
No doubt. I'll share a quick story with you about 15 years ago how this was introduced to us. Jen and I were buying a farm, a 55-acre farm. We had a deal with a lender to loan us the money that we got at the table to do the closing. Now, we were buying it from another family that it was part of an estate. They were all doing the crab pot thing. They just wanted the cash. We capitalized on that. We got a really great deal on it. We were buying this 55-acre farm for, I think, $340,000, which is a tremendous price for what we were getting. Okay, 55 acres with a pond, a house, all that. So we get to the table. Our lender went kind of squirrely on us, did not have the cash. and the sellers were getting a little squirrely because they wanted the cash because they were anxious. So we had a friend of ours, Jewish lawyer. We're at the table. He pulls us out. He said, well, what's going on? Well, we're like, look, we're not sure. We called the lender. We don't want to lose the deal. So he says, hey, I'll loan you the money. And we were like, really? So yeah, I'll loan it to you. And now here was this condition though. He said, I'm going to loan it to you, but listen to what he said. And a light blew up in my head when he said this. He said, I'm going to pull it out of my HELOC. I pay 2.7% for my interest. He said, I'm going to lend it to you for 10. He said, so I'll call now and transfer the money and I'll loan it to you and you guys can close today. Now, right. So listen to this now. He pulled that out of the equity of his house, but I'm paying his interest plus giving him an additional 7% interest. And he accessed the money like that. Mm-hmm. He didn't go to his savings account. He went to his HELOC. And so when he did that, we left that place and I told Jen, today I'm going to get everything I can find, every book, and I did. And I went on a mad all out. And from that day to this day, we have used that tool and we use it exactly the same way. So that tool is a tool that can be used to pull equity out of your current property or properties. We don't use that though as a second. We use that as a first. That is the first lien, it's a first mortgage.
So it's not a second trust.
People don't realize this exists. So what he actually additionally was showing us was his HELOC was not a second. His HELOC was his primary loan on his dwelling.
Most people have never heard of that.
Most people don't know, don't understand that exists. Some banks don't understand that you can do that. Right? Okay. So when he pulls out equity, it's not taxed. Guess why? Because it's your money. So it's not taxed. You will pay interest, but you're paying interest. It's your cash. If you pull out $100,000 and you pay interest, it's your money. You don't get taxed on it. So IRS can't get any of it.
Yeah, it's considered a loan. So they're not
it's considered a loan.
Yeah.
And here's the wonderful part about it is you can write off the interest income like you do on a regular mortgage on your own. You write it off. So there's so many advantages. Now, these are things that we get into. We get down into the deep, minute details of this with what we train and coach our people. We try to show all these there's so many beautiful things like this that you can leverage and do with property. Yeah. And utilize it that way where you don't have to get rid of it.
Exactly.
Families fight when someone passes away to sell the property.
Don't sell it.
They are fighting over land right now. The 100 acres in Albany, Georgia, the family it's 46. They're fighting over the land. One, because it wasn't in a trust. That's one. Two, so they're dealing with the probate, after the death. Okay. Because if it would have been in the correct type of trust, they wouldn't have had to deal with the probate part. And so they're just sitting on it. And people have been approaching them about it. No, they're not talking about doing it as for lease purposes. Look, I'm just going to say it now. I know Marcus and Alex are going to agree with me. Rod and Jen, we need y'all at our FamCon. Okay.
I knew she was going to ask that before she even
hopped
on this.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
She was
happy to be there.
Well, you name it. This you speaking out. Look, we can talk about this for 24 hours straight. That's
know this. Like Marcus and Alex just said, like, Mom, we're not getting married yet because we're going to do the FHA with ours in our name. And then our spouse, our girlfriends are going to get their FHA and then we're going to rent one out and we're going to, so they're already thinking along that lines. But again, our community wasn't educated.
Exactly.
Was not.
We were told, go to school, get a good job, meaning you're getting in debt because now you're back in the slavery system because that's to me what it is. They took us out of the fields, they put us in the school so they can control us, so you can be an employee to them.
Introduced by Rockefeller. Now we like some of what he did, but he introduced that.
So he was building these companies so he can have them taken out the field. But y'all want to abolish slavery? Okay, well, this is another way we can do it. We can take them, put them in the schools. We can train them on what we want them to know, and then put them back into another field, which is be a secretary. Remember, they never wanted you to be a doctor. They never wanted you to be a lawyer. They wanted you to be a carpenter. They want you to be an electrician. They wanted you to do construction. No pun intended. They wanted you to be a steelman, because that was another form of slavery. And they didn't want you to own anything. They want you to rent from them.
Correct.
That's right.
That's correct. But listen and follow this, though, in reference to some of the other components. Now, you mentioned something, Alexander, both of you guys, about FHA and these mortgages, which you're correct. That's good. But look, you can house hack.
Yep.
Look, we can give you a whole list of things that you can
Tell
do.
me what house hacking is.
So here's house hack. You buy a house, okay? You got to buy a house right now. You don't have to be married. You buy a house right now, you get this place. Use your FHA, first time home buyer. Great move.
3.5%.
You get in there. Now, legally, and IRS has even identified this as legal write-off for you, you can actually rent a room or 2 rooms or a portion of your house, your basement, an in-law suite. You can rent that. Not only can you rent it, you can renovate it and write off the renovations now.
I've been house hacking all this time.
Come on.
Yeah,
see what I'm saying?
Crazy.
So you can do these things now and benefit also from a tax perspective and be considered a business activity. So that's your primary residence. Now, guess what happens? You stay there a year or so, move out.
Yep.
Rent the whole thing. Do you know you still can go out and get another loan as a first-time home buyer or get you another place and not be held against you? These are things we don't get told. Yep. So you can buy and continue to buy, building up your portfolio, and then we show you how to transition over to buying as an investor. So we take people that's already in a place, say, we'll show you how to use your current place, put that in the loop so you can start making money.
Save up some money.
Save some money off of that, get them to pay your utilities, mortgage, and everything else.
Yes.
Save all your cash.
Move out.
Go and buy another place, move out and totally rent that place, start the process again. So there's ways to step into it, or you can jump all the way into it. But there's so many ways to use the tool.
Yeah,
and we just
I have one of our mentees whose sister bought the house, FHA, now has a contract because she is now what are those people that take care of people? I forgot what it's called. So she's got the contract. So she got 5 people in the house.
Home health care?
Yes. But it's called something, a group home. It's a group home.
Group home. Okay.
So she turned the house into a group home, but she got it for FHA, turned it into the group home. So she's making double, not just from them, in a sense, from the house, from being an investment, but because they're paying her for group home for each person, and then she went and bought another property. But I'm not going to add nothing because I know Marcus and Alex got tons.
So I did want to add something based on what you said earlier, and I've heard people say this before, that basically you can do the FHA loan originally, do whatever you do with the house, live there for a year, and then you can get the FHA loan again. So how kind of is the process of getting the FHA loan again after you've already used it the first time?
Well, they will allow you to do that. So the FHA guidelines will allow you to buy another house and keep that one as your investment property. So then you're going to get another primary residence with an investment property on the books or on your portfolio. So they'll look at your investment property, make sure that you have a tenant in there that's covering the mortgage on that property. So it's important that you have a tenant and you have a lease, because they're going to look at that lease.
Right.
Let's say your mortgage payment was $1,000. You may have a lease for $1,500. They're like, okay, his mortgage payment is covered by this lease.
Right.
So then that frees you up to now go buy another property and buy another property as your primary residence. The second property is your investment property.
Right.
And I think you can do that up to like 4 or 5 times, right? At some point they'll say, okay, that's enough. You can't do it anymore.
They'll realize that you know the game at that point, which is okay, because we'll ship you over into investor mode fully, and you will start buying properties as a business.
Right.
Because we have companies that we deal with that have no problem whatsoever. You can own 1,000 properties and they'll still give you a loan as an investor.
That's what we do. But
you can stay in state, still do that, right, Jen? You can still stay in the state, because I was hearing if you moved out of state and you want to do the FHA.
That's probably true. Yeah, you want to stay within the state that you're in.
For those as primary residents, right.
Okay.
But now if you did that and then moved after you had 2 properties, that doesn't change anything. So you could choose yourself to move to another state, but now you might not be FHA. But by that time, let's hope that you're already up in the game and you're generating this passive income, and you're ready to move on and do whatever you want to do anyway.
But here's the cool thing. It doesn't have to be a single family house. You can do that with a duplex. And you can do that with a 4-unit building.
Yeah, you can go up to 4 units.
FHA will allow you to buy a 4-unit building as your primary residence as long as you're living in one of the units. So you can live in one of the units and rent out the other 3 units. Okay. Right. You can do that again and again. So, but like Rod said, after you've tapped that out, then you can go ahead and get an investor loan where you typically will have to put down 25%, right?
See, here's one of the greatest things about leveraging property to buy property. When you get ready to do that and you're saying, well, wow, they want 20%. Well, guess what? You own 2 properties. You got equity. You already got your 20%. You pull your equity out of your other property, leverage and buy more property because you don't need to come out of your pocket. You wouldn't have to. You have equity sitting there. That's what you're building. You're building a bank. You're in essence of the more the years pass, the more's in your bank. Okay, and you tap
doing the HELOC because I got over $200,000 in equity. I'm doing the HELOC.
Wow,
yeah, you got to do it, and we can give you a reference to get you somewhere to get you access to your cash. Okay?
But one of the strategies, guys, that you guys have to cut Rod and I off when you're ready to talk because we will talk about this forever.
Oh, yeah. We're in like
don't
a daze.
On real estate.
Marcus, guys, are we not in a daze right now? It's like, wow.
I'm over here learning. I'm just trying to piece everything together on how I'm about to start running.
So listen to this, guys. So one of the strategies of investing that Rod and I love, it's called the BRRRR strategy. And if you're in this investing space, you'll hear about this. And BRRRR stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat.
I add an extra R in there and see, because Jen and I like to have fun. Okay. So I added a relaxed component in those R's. Right after we do the rent piece, we go out and we go on a trip. Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
We repeat. Okay. Because we're getting along. We gotta have fun. So we just came back from California and Tampa and we like to go have fun. So we do the properties. We had just finished one. And then we took off and we went to California.
Same way. I will definitely say that because we go to Dubai and London and we do that. We do it as a family now, but every now and then they'll sneak off and do stuff. But yeah, I agree. It's like you work hard, but you got to put some play inside of it as well. So where are some of the places, since you guys, we got the relaxed component, where are some of the places that you guys have been? Or one of the places that you wanted to go and never thought you could go to because of this freedom that you've been given because of the real estate industry?
South Africa was our last big trip before COVID, and really changed our mind about everything you believe and conceive Africa to be. We were in Sandton, which is their financial district. Look, you had more cats driving around in Lambos and Rolls Royce Bentleys, and we're like, this is just so unfair that things are always shown in a way that's not the way.
I stayed in South Africa for 3 weeks. Wow. And it's so funny because because I had an opportunity to be blessed to stay with Desmond Tutu. And my mother is best friends with his daughter, Naomi. And I was with Tembeka. And the fact that I got to see it from that standpoint, that perspective, and to be in, I got chills thinking about it right now because he was alive when I went to have breakfast with him every morning. But Africa is not what people think it is. I mean, yes, it has its shanty towns and stuff like that, but they are balling and shot calling over there like a whole nother level. You think that's why they come over here acting the way they do? You know, it's crazy. But Marcus, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
No, but we loved it. We just didn't stay long enough.
We didn't bring enough suitcases to do any shopping.
Not enough suitcases.
We grossly misjudged, but we're going back.
No, Rod saw some shoes over there.
I saw shoes over there I've never seen before. I was like, look at these shoes.
It's different. The real estate market is going out of control now.
Really?
To invest in Ghana. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We definitely got to talk about that offline.
Actually, I was gonna ask. See, I've been quiet, but I've been writing some questions down. Right. I'm one of them people that really do this. So first, before I even talk about out of country real estate, I saw Rod. I saw that cup, my man. It got Myron Golden's logo on it, and I'm one of those people. I pay attention to detail.
You caught that?
I did. Yeah. I caught that. So
Myron's our mentor.
I believe it. I believe because Neo's our mentor. So that's how we know
about him. We know he's in circle with us.
Well,
know
Myron was my mentor 11 years ago from network marketing, because that's where
wow.
it started.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Because
Yeah.
of LM, and I still have his cassette tapes
Come on now.
and VHS to this day. And when I
And
showed it to him,
DVDs.
he was blown. He was like, "Oh my God!" So
Yeah.
yes, he is an
Wow.
amazing coach.
Isn't it
Exactly.
Isn't it amazing?
Full
Now,
circle
Neo, matter of
loop.
fact, Neo was just with us last week on the yacht. We all were out on the yacht. Neo was with us. We were all there.
Yeah.
Russell Brunson, Myron, all of us. Great time. He brought fire too because he
Neo
spoke
spoke at the conference.
and great.
Yeah, I heard.
Neo's on another level. Great dude, man, and good people. And he, like I said, he's in our group, so we see him often.
Family.
Yeah, he is. He's and the young man is on fire.
He is on fire.
He is on fire. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like I mentioned that because, we all said one word that we all have an agreement with, which is mentorship. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you all have a coaching program that teaches people about how to build legacy through real estate. So my question was, how do you feel about mentorship? Like, how important is mentorship to you and your family? And I'm going to ask a personal question, which, how much did you spend on mentorship?
Or spending should be the word.
Well, I have to own something here that I give full credit to my wife for, because Doc, you asked us in the beginning about like the roles, like how we do. Jen has been always super, super supportive as a wife, and not that makes her any less, but she's let me do the role. She's let me run lead. And in one of the things that I led in early on, now she knew I'm a trailblazer too, and I'm a go-getter. So she saw that and she knew that, but she also saw some things I was not necessarily open to do. So early years in our getting together, it was all about the grind. I didn't really look per se to go out, and nor did I, but in my defense, nor did I see too many people that I related to that I wanted to do that with to kind of come underneath. So I went a long period of time, probably a decade, not really looking for any mentorship. It was just like all about just the grind and doing it. And she used to often say, honey, we need a mentor. You need a mentor. And, and I'll be like, yeah, but I'm killing the game. We doing millions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I might be self-taught, but I'm doing it, and some of that, yeah. But so some of that was just not fully understanding what the mentor would do to level me up, to kind of fast forward me, to get me past like some hurdles that's taken me a year. They can get it to me in one conversation. And so I wasn't getting that. So she kept nudging, honey, you need a mentor. And, and then we had spiritual mentors. We had pastors and dear people that were close to us that would, from a spiritual perspective, mentored us. But I had no one in business. So I kept being short for someone in business. And again, grinding, but not leveling up. And then lo and behold, we met Myron. Okay. Now I had always responded to her with, look, I'm not going to pay some dude to give me some information that I'm already out here balling and doing. Okay. And give them X amount of dollars. And I sit in there and know what they know. Now, some of that may have been pride. I call it what it is. But when I met Myron, we met him from a different perspective, which was a spiritual one. See, I didn't even know he coached. When I met him, I saw a Bible study, and he dropped some revelation in the Bible study. She sent it to me, and I said, who is this dude? I know almost every preacher in the country and some out of the country. I'm like, who is this dude? So I now have consumed probably like 5 hours of his content, and I'm going into day 2. I'm driving around with my buds on listening, and she's sitting in the background, not saying anything. Then it finally hits. He says he's a coach. Now, he likes to do funnels. He likes to do all that kind of stuff. So I call up. I'm like, well, I want to be in your coaching program. So they tell me about some lower program. Then I find out where Neo and him are, he's got a higher program. I'm like, I don't care what the program costs. Why did you not tell me about this program?
Right.
I'm paying. Where do I send you the money? Because this is where I'm supposed to be. That's how we connected. And so to answer your question, how much will we spend? Oh, we've probably spent $400,000 in the last year.
Okay.
Now, what will I do? What will I do going forward? I'm not going to tell you there's an amount I won't spend.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Because I heard another wealthy man say he paid $500,000 to sit with a billionaire for 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
Wow.
And then when he got there to sit with him, he made him wait for 6 hours before he saw him.
It's interesting you say that because over the last 2.5 years, we have literally honestly spent almost $200,000 for our mentors. I remember my mother saying, "You did what? For one coach, $55,000. You did what? Do you know that's people's salary?" And blah. I was like, "Mom, you don't understand.
Don't
I said,
understand.
because they will take your business to the next level."
What? Our business
It's a
has already
mindset
done
shift.
that. Our business is, look, the 400 we spent is a drop in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the 400 we spent to be elevated even in our mind. Now, we've done millions of dollars in business in a year. So I'm very used to millions of dollars. That's nothing. But we start talking, look, y'all know this with Neo. $1 million in a day.
Yes.
Right.
You want to blow your mind? $1 million. You talking $1 million. We do $2 million in a year. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, well, you know, I got it. And then they roll up and say they did $1 million in one day.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's like, boom.
He forced us. He said, "I need you guys to do $100,000 in a month." And we were like, okay, okay, no problem. So when we did it, it was mind blowing because our company was teetering in the middle each month. There's nothing wrong with $500,000 a year, as our company together, first time us really as them being adults working together to do that. But when we made that investment to literally make that money back the next month,
right,
and do more than we doubled what we would have did. It's like that made sense to me.
And it made sense. This is another reason why it made sense. This was what's surprising about what our grandmother said about, dang, that's somebody's salary. It's like a person would go to school and rather have debt. It's like we're doing the same thing.
It's the exact same
You
thing.
get what I'm saying? Like
it's a write-off.
Yes.
It is a write-off. I'm going to tell you something. You guys know our mentor, but coach said this, and it's something, and I'm like you, Alex, I'm writing. Well, I've tried to put it in my phone because I like to go back and look at it. But he said something, and I'm sitting in there one day, and he said, look, if you can't pay somebody 100, you can't get 100 because you don't believe
Exactly.
And I'm like, wow. Okay. I'm sitting here clenching like, I ain't paying 100. It's like, well, you're not going to get 100. You can't.
You know what's crazy?
With your head, you got to admit, he
was in our head. But what's crazy is that it made me be like, I need to spend as much money as possible.
Exactly. It's like, what's the most expensive program I can get into? Okay, I'm trying to sell that exact same thing.
Look, and I'm gonna tell you what, Jen, and I'm gonna tell you, and the whole time, all I could see in the back of my mind, I'm sitting over there thinking, Jen sitting over there going, I was praying. I knew I'd get you. She knew I had to lead us in. See, if she tried to lead us in, I was gonna fight tooth and nail. So she knew. She was like, "Oh, I got him now."
Look, guys, that's the power of prayer. I'm trying to tell y'all.
But here's the other side of it. The other side of it is, though, that more than you know, and after we sit down and we break bread, and and Myra's a dear friend of ours now, but more than you know, the similarity and how God set us down, and this man's life and my life are the same. They're like his childhood, his struggle, his stuff, his adversity, his losses, and we're sitting at the table talking to each other, and I'm literally doggone near crying. I'm like, were you part of my family? Was I part? I'm like, how can we have all these like similarities? Losing your money, losing your house, and we're and even almost at the same time, we're the same age. And I'm like, but God knew, because he also knew there were not a lot of people that I would submit to and listen to the way I will listen to this individual. So he knows who we can connect with and who's going to be able to really pour into us and minister to us the way that he can elevate us. And I'm elevated today in a way that in 30 years of business, in less than a year or a little better, I'm at a whole nother, just thought process is totally different.
So today we were sharing our program with one of our soon-to-be mentees, and we're going through the offer stack. And we know the value of what we teach. We know the value of the program. We get down to the actual offer after we've sliced everything apart and told him it was $25,000 for a year of coaching. And I'm looking at my husband and I was like, that's cheap.
Well, first of all, Myron told us, double
the price.
You need to scratch it.
Oh God, that's Neil.
That's the exact same thing Neil said.
He told us. Now listen, I've been a little hard there only because one of our desires, and this was more of a spiritual thing for us. Our goal is with some of the core of people we're working with now is about developing them. Mm-hmm. And not that we're going to leave them because they're going to be with us. They don't know, but we know. We're developing that core, and we've selected this core because we're going to elevate this thing to a level that they may not be aware of, but we need them all the way in. Mm-hmm. So we've coached them a little bit, and we gave them a little slack. But we did make it clear today, you're not going to see this offer next month and the month. So don't call us 3 months from now saying, you remember I was in? No. If it's $100,000, it's $100,000. I'm sorry. Don't be mad. You had the opportunity.
Because we know what we bring to the table. Yes, you know what you bring to the table. And, I'm with you. I was fighting that. Mark was like, no, Mom, the program is $40K. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Hold on now. I'm like,
yeah. I said it need to be 40. I'm like, we spent 55. We can at least meet 55.
See? There you go, Mark.
I'm saying,
there you go.
Like if we spent this, like I feel usually, so this is how it usually happens. I'm glad she brought this up. Usually she's the one spending the mentorship, right?
Right.
But I don't know. When we spent that 55, I felt like I spent it. Yeah. So it's like, look, we got to at least reach
together. We was like, it was when Neo spoke, it was like we was in a trance. Yep. My husband was sitting and I was like, okay, because he normally trusts what I do. We went over to Marcus and I looked at each other.
We gonna join the program.
Yeah, right. So we joined it. And then my husband was like, "You did what?" I said, "Yeah, we just spent $55K." You did what?
We know.
He said, "You better make that money back." He was like, "You better make." I said, "We're gonna make the money back."
But
like,
it's crazy. After we joined and got onboarded, like literally the first play they gave us, we did it and we made $20,000 in the first week.
Yes.
Wow.
But you know what the beauty is, and you guys can attest to this too. And I know that all three of you will say this though. Once you were stretched beyond your boundaries, beyond your border, once you were stretched and you got over on the other side, didn't you look back and go, that why was I over there?
Yes. The first mentor, it was Audria, and I was like, I put 20. It was a $20K program, and Mark's like, "What? $20,000?" I was like, "Yeah,
I did say that."
Mom, this is Marcus. Mom,
I did.
I'm like, I promise you, we're gonna learn some things, and we did. We honestly did learn a lot. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why we use Kartra to this day. Everybody else uses Russell, but we actually use Kartra. And we love Kartra. So it's a system. Right. Then the next person, it was Neo. Neo taught us how to do big ticket items.
Right.
Okay. He's like, this is the reason why you should do it. Blah, 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 blah. We got Runway. Runway shows us, back to the low ticket item and be eating it up. Okay. On the low. You get something from each and every single one. And you could have heard something 1,000 times, but it could be the one thing that was said within 30 seconds that takes your business to the next level. And that was the reason why you paid for that particular mentorship.
Right.
There you go.
And Marcus, this is to speak back to something else too. And that is, we shared this today, and this is what we share with those that we coach now. When we run them down through this whole list of everything that's necessary, the one thing that we admit to and we're very transparent about, we tell them, yeah, we do wonderful business. God's blessing us. Our businesses do and produce. But the one thing that we're very transparent about is we went so long without getting mentors to help us to scale faster. Mm-hmm. And any money we would have gave them, we would have made back 10-fold, 50-fold, 100-fold if we'd only spent the money and not been clutching our purse saying, I'm not spending that, it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you think in that way, and the mentality is, and the mindset is, you can't break out of that in your mind, you will never break to the next level.
Right.
There's no way it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Exactly.
We're free.
Exactly. I agree. Because when my mom was spitting that with Audria at the time, and I was like, 20,000, that's a lot of money. But then I don't know, when we went to Neo after spending 55, I'm like, who else can we spend with?
Yeah. Yeah.
You see
Change
what
your
I'm
whole
saying?
mindset. Yeah.
Like, I'm now thinking 20,000, that's cheap. And what's crazy is, I think what happens is that you also have to be immersed in whatever the information that they give you. Like they always say, when you pay attention, but there's like a slight gray area in that. Right. And so I didn't pay the 20,000, but what I did is, as soon as my mom was like, hey, understand why I spent 20,000. And so what I did is I went through the information, I went through the calls, and it then felt like as if I spent 20,000. I had a mindset shift in that process. So speaking of like shifts, right? I want to revert back to, like, this is the last question I have on my end. I want to shift back to what we were talking about, out of country real estate, right? We were talking about South Africa. I want to really like dive into this. Like, would you ever get real estate out of the country? Because I'm really thinking about it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, Rod says yes quickly. I say yes, but I want to understand it first. I'm all about
that's an automatic part of my butt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, I'm all about, I want education. Educate me on this other area. I want to know the ebbs and flows of it. I want to know what the rents are. I want to know about the real estate.
What you're going to do with the real estate
first before I jump in. Because what we teach our mentees, is to start small and start local. If you've never purchased real estate before,
unless they're in the game already,
start as close to home as you can, so you can drive by, you can see it, you can understand how it works, you can understand putting a tenant in there. And once you understand the business, then you can grow from there. But start in your backyard and then go to the uttermost parts of the world, of course.
But part two of that, Marcus, is, and y'all sharing, you guys may have known this already, but you know, John D. Rockefeller owned 1,600 acres in the Philippines. Okay. And
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
I
did
not. What book did you read this from? I need that book. That book you just stated about the Rockefellers is what I need.
Yeah.
So I need that.
I'll share it with you. But there are many wealthy individuals from this country and other countries that own land in other countries. Many. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So because what you're learning about them is, see, here we go again, getting mentors. See, they jump on some other levels. They're watching international world events and they see opportunities. We're still talking about our neighborhood. They're talking about Russia, South Africa, Lithuania. There's oil here. There's gold mines there. They're digging into stuff we don't even get in conversations about. So when I said yes, absolutely, it's because I'm already on another level of thinking on where I want our real estate game to go. And that is international. Okay. So I would love to do that. We don't have any property currently out of the country. We've looked at property. And by the way, everywhere we go as a real estate professional is an automatic write-off, because whether we looked at property in South Africa. We looked at two condos while we were there. So guess what just happened to our South Africa trip? Bingo. It was a write-off.
We have to go together. And next time, hopefully my husband will be on, because he does real estate in the virtual world. That's the metaverse, because that's where a lot of advertising and all of that is going to be going on. And we're like, okay, Dwayne. He's like, no, let's get serious, because as they start moving into this virtual world, the advertisers needs to go there. So people are wanting property inside of the virtual metaverse in order to own that land. So they're buying land there. So we just got so much. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say.
Well, we're going. Hey, look, this is we family now. This
right.
And look, we just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
We haven't even.
So y'all know that we could literally get something to eat, a little something to drink, and y'all know we could sit down and we could go for 8 hours. You know that.
I know.
We didn't even get a chance to explain the burst strategy and how you can pull
We'll get to it.
Right.
Well, we're going to have to bring you on for podcast part 2 to really go.
Yeah, we might need a part 2 on this. But I want to ask like a final last question as like for fanpreneur set, because for us, you're technically a fampreneur. You're a family entrepreneur, or you
That's
have
exactly
families of
what we are.
entrepreneurs, right? And so I want to ask you a last question, something that I'm starting to ask every single person on the podcast before we close out is, what does legacy mean to you?
Wow.
Oh, that's your baby.
Well, I speak personally for this one, guys, from me, from just life, from where I've come from. And, even out of tragedy, great things are born. And I believe out of some of the tragic situations in my life, there was a deep, deep seated passion placed in me to break tradition, to break a family curse, and to really just so far explode outside of the boundaries of anything that's ever been done in my family. And actually, I've already done that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I've already broke that in so many areas. But the most beautiful piece for me is that the legacy when we leave and when I check out of here, no different than the Rockefellers, that there will be land and houses and businesses associated to me and what I've been able to create, that my great grandkids, not ever seeing me in the flesh, will be able to say, my great grandfather purchased that. My great grandfather did this. That's why I own business. That's why when people start talking about places that they're going into, we touch it. It's out. Sam Walton, all these people. You can't even go anywhere in the world and people don't know Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
So I say for me, it's about legacy. And then we still enjoy as a family while we're here. And we tell it to the kids, we're having a blast.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to travel the world. We're going to spend money. We're going to stay in nice places, ride on yachts, fly in private jets, buy Bentley, anything else. But we're not spending all our money.
Right.
Like Neo said to you guys, and like Myron say to us, we're only one funnel away. Make a business opportunity and pay for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a glass of water.
And guys, remember, money follows assets. And in order to leave a legacy, you have to have an asset that's going to preserve that wealth for the generations behind you to stand on. And then each generation is not starting over again.
Exactly.
Keep starting over again and not building, on top of the generation before. So it's just having that legacy that other people behind us can look at and say, okay, this is where we're starting from. We're not starting from zero.
Right.
Look what great-great-grandpa did and great-great-grandma did. We're starting from that and then catapulting from there.
Now, how great is it for your name and the legacy of your father and what he's dropped into you, and then for your grandkids, and it to be able to be traced and say, my dad and mom started this. Mm-hmm. We then picked it up. We grew this. Mm-hmm. Now you're coming into this, and it becomes so innate, such a part of them. They're like, they don't think of anything else. Mm-hmm. So when someone say to them, go get a mentor for $100,000 or $1 million, they're like, that's nothing.
That's what we do.
We'll just do that because we're getting ready to elevate. If we spend $1 million, we're going to 100 million. Mm-hmm. We might be in the billion category. Million's nothing. And that's what we got to change. And that's what we're about.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we're sticking to it.
We're not changing it. God put it in, and we're going to let it out.
I love it. I was just going to say, just to make sure, like, you all have been able to drop a lot of game and knowledge, I want people who don't already know you to be able to find you, right? So where is a good place for them to find you if they want to reach out to you or just, watch some of the content and things and education that you all create?
Well, we do have a YouTube channel now that you mentioned to watch us. So on our YouTube channel, we do drop a lot of really good nuggets. They can follow us there. It's at Rod and Jen Spratley on YouTube. Of course, we're on Instagram, and I think yours is Rodney Spratley on Instagram.
Yeah, we're both of us on Instagram.
And I'm jenspratley.coach on Instagram. We have a website. It's rodandjen.info. You can also reach us by phone. It's 757-751-9969. Trying to think how else they can reach us.
Well, we're on Instagram. We're not Instagram, but LinkedIn as well.
And on Facebook, it's Rod and Jen.
So we're
Spratley.
on all those platforms. Mm-hmm. Should come up if you search us. But look, we always try to make ourselves and stay available. A lot of what we do and put out and continue to put out, we've got coaches now in those areas.
So every month we do a 5-day challenge, and that's realestatetoricheschallenge.com. You can go there if you want to sign up and register for our next challenge. Will be in July. I think we just had our challenge for June, but you spend 5 days with Rod and I, and we give you a lot of good information over 5 days that you can actually use.
We cover a lot of the stuff that we talk to you guys, but in more depth. Mm-hmm. And we get into some other things as well. But that 5 days is really a way for us to immerse you in and let you know what's available because there's so much more to this. And we really, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, you know, and it really doesn't matter what your business is. Because if you told me, like you said, pharmaceutical, if you say I'm in the hair business or products business, whatever it is, you know what? Real estate touches it, you know. Somewhere in there, somewhere in that process, some real estate touches your business. Whether it's the company you buy from, whether it's where you store your goods, whether it's where you have your office, whether it's where you
can own it.
You know, you go one step behind it and buy the real estate. Keep the business, buy the real estate.
And I'm going to say this one last thing about real estate. It appreciates in value. The house that my parents bought when I was little was $17,000. Today, that house is worth almost $2 million. That's just in my lifetime. And if they had bought 2 or 3 of those, imagine
Think about it.
how you can change a family with 1 or 2 pieces of property. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything else because I know we'll go on for another 2 hours, but I am really grateful that you guys were able to do it. Oh,
Same here. Same here. Well,
Yeah.
But we definitely want to thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure. So look, I want to thank everyone who's watching this for joining. And like, if you haven't already, go ahead and not only subscribe to them on YouTube, make sure you follow them on Instagram as well. They drop a lot of good game. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and we'll see you again next week for more. Let's go.